How's it going, folks? Albert here with Ballista Archery, and today we are discussing the Ballista Sting Bolts. We're discussing everything from A to Z, bolt weight, speed, customization, everything. So stay tuned if you want to learn more about the Sting Bolts. Let's jump right in. All right, first of all, we have two different size options. They're the same bolt, just one is longer. We have a 13-inch option and a 16-inch option. The bolts are made out of carbon with a 300 spine, so they're pretty dang stiff, great for the crossbow. They are micro diameter, and for the folks that aren't familiar with micro diameter shafts, or kind of the reason or the perks of a micro diameter shaft, let me tell you really fast and quick explanation. Micro diameter shaft has a smaller diameter circumference than the typical bolt, and what that does is that it gets rid of some of that wind drag and wind resistance. Also in the animal, you get better penetration, you're getting faster speeds, and it's what works best with our crossbows. Full size diameter bolts don't work with our pistol crossbows just because of the way that they're engineered. So micro diameter shaft, two size options, 13 and 16. These are also fully customizable. You can take out this aluminum insert and replace it with a steel insert or a brass insert. Our steel inserts, my favorite, are 120 grains. So they're pretty heavy. Plus you have a 100 grain insert up front. So that is 220 grains right up front. Talking about weight, let's measure the two different weights of these bolts. So let's measure the 13-inch bolt first. Got a little scale right here. Throw this guy on. Kind of on a slope right now, but 245 grains for that 13-inch bolt, and that is with the field point, and that field point does come with the stings. It is included. Let's weigh the 16-inch bolt. 276 grains, so what is that? 20 grains, 276, 245. So yeah, this bolt, the 16-inch bolt, is 276. So you're looking at a 30 grain insert, or a 30 grain difference between the 13 and the 16-inch bolts. Let's talk about hunting usage with the bolts. So out of the package, this is what you're getting. You're getting a field point, and you're getting one of these aluminum inserts right there. What I recommend is you pull this aluminum insert out and you place it with a steel insert. Let me show you these steel inserts. So we have these steel inserts right here. We got tutorials if you scan that barcode, and let's show you. I'm gonna unpackage this real quick. So this right here is that insert, outsert, whatever you want to call it. It's 120 grains and it's steel. You just simply heat up the tip, just torch that sucker and pull it out by the tip. I have some videos on that, and I can make another video to show you guys again. So what I recommend doing for your hunting bolts, yes, you can use any broadhead you want. You can see right here I have a fixed blade, I have a mechanical head, and I have a judo point right here. So as you can see right here, you can pretty much use any broadhead you want, and they work relatively great with all of them. Not all of them work great, but most of them work great. If you find that your broadheads aren't flying great, watch this video right here. I'm gonna put up a little link up there, and it's a video titled How to Shoot Any Broadhead, something along those lines. So you see fixed blade, and right here we have a third vein. So if you're shooting fixed blade broadheads, which I recommend shooting fixed blade broadheads, and I'll go into the detail in a little bit, but if you're shooting fixed blade broadhead and you're having a hard time shooting good groupings or consistently, what I recommend doing is just adding a third vein just like this. You can see it's just a third vein, simply slap it on, and that stabilizes it amazingly. Now, why do I prefer a fixed blade broadhead like this over a mechanical broadhead like this one right here, like the Schwacker? Now, I've killed, I think, 3 hogs with the Schwacker, and I killed an alligator with the fixed point, or with the fixed blade. However, the reason I would prefer you guys to shoot the fixed blade even is the crossbows are relatively low power. We're talking about a 5-pound crossbow that's the size of your palm. So this crossbow is pretty small. This one has the stock for stability. However, you can get them without the stock. So this crossbow being relatively low powered, you're gonna want something that'll pretty much just drive and drill through that animal. The issue with a mechanical broadhead like this is that it uses energy upon impact. So it's coming out of the bow at 35 pounds kinetic energy. By the time it hits the animal, it's probably down at, I don't know, high 20s, low 30s, somewhere in there. But once it hits that animal, it uses all this energy to open up. And that when it opens up like this, when it hits this right here, it's losing a ton of energy. So if you only have 35 pounds of kinetic energy, by the time it hits the animal, you don't have that much room for air, and I'm gonna be honest. We have had guys shoot deer past 37 yards. We recommend you stay within 25 to 30 yards. However, with mechanical broadheads, a lot of stuff can go wrong, and if you hit a bone or something, you probably won't have the energy to go through just because it's using so much energy to open up. Now, recommended kinetic energy for deer is 26 pounds, I believe. So you got good energy coming right out of the bow. However, downrange plus you throw a mechanical on there, you're losing a lot of that energy, and you're right around that 27 pounds downrange, and you want to be above it for ethical good shooting. So with that being said, you might have a broadhead that you love, but you can't get it to shoot straight. Or I just do this with all the fixed blades I shoot just because it's so awesome. This vane right here stabilizes this bolt amazingly. This is a 16-inch bolt. I'll shoot it a few times for you guys. But this is a fixed blade broadhead, 125 grain broadhead. And this third vane stabilizes it amazingly. Now you do have to have an offset because when you load it into the bolt, there's the tongue that sits on this that pushes this down. Once again, watch that video. I explain everything thoroughly in there. However, with the hunting setup, this is what I recommend doing. Plus, on this, I have my aluminum insert because it's a 125 grain broadhead. However, what I like to do, usually, I throw that steel insert on there, and you're looking at 350 grain bolt. And we're gonna do some shooting real quick, and we're gonna throw them through the chronograph and just kind of show you guys what those speeds are with these heavier bolts. As far as refletching, you can refletch. We have a fletching jig available on our website. I also have videos and tutorials on that. Rip these off, clamp it on. Super simple, super easy. And yeah, so pretty much you're getting 6 of these in a pack, I believe 6 of them. Yep, you're getting 6 of these in a pack. You're getting field points with them, and these last you forever. These are super durable. Pretty much the only time I need new ones is when I lose them. So pretty awesome rig. But I say we go start shooting a few times, and we'll throw them through the chronograph and kind of show you the different speeds with the different weight bolts. All right, so we got the battery verse, we got the chronograph, and we're going to test the speeds. So first we're going to use the 13-inch bolt, and this is 245 grains. (256 feet per second). Let's get the 16-inch bolt, and this is 275 grains. So 256. 245. All right, let's put those speeds into the calculator and see what we get out of the kinetic energy calculator. So with the 16-inch bolt, 275 grains, it's coming out 245 feet per second. That is 36.66 feet per second. With the 13-inch bolt, a 245 grain bolt and a velocity of 265 feet per second is coming out at 38 feet per second. Recommended for whitetail is 25 feet per second to 41 feet per second, meaning that this bow is producing a sufficient amount of energy to kill a white-tailed deer. Now I know there are some of you guys that are saying, what about the 420 feet per second that you guys have been promoting? The 420 feet per second is our top speed in sterile environments with a 100 grain bolt. That 420 feet per second is for our non-hunting community that likes to just go into the backyard and just plink around and shoot the bolts, and they're not hunting with them. If you hunt, you know, kind of know the physics of how things work. The heavier the bolt, the slower it's gonna be. Even with the slower speed, quote unquote slower speeds that we're getting, a whopping 265 or 275 feet per second, or with the 245, let's say for a slower bolt, 245 feet per second, that is still sufficient amount of energy for a white-tailed deer. I would like to mention this is without the steel insert. We could throw on the steel inserts and see how those perform. Let's do that because that is our hunting rig. But even with this, if you threw a broadhead on this, 245 feet per second, plenty. But let's do it with the hunting bolt, just so you guys have a very well understanding of everything. Let's go throw those on and throw them through the chronograph again. To add a new steel insert on here, all you gotta do is heat this field point up. Don't heat up the carbon because it can crack. Try to just heat up the actual point. Gotta face it away from the lens so I don't burn the camera. But try to just heat up the actual field point like this. Now you can pop this off, just like this. Don't heat it up too much because you can crack the shaft. Now what you're gonna do is you grab one of these steel suckers and you grab some hot glue. You gotta kind of do this multitaskingly, but you can do regular insert glue instead. I've just been doing hot glue and it's been working fine. But you hit this up, and then you can put it on the bolt. And then what I like to do is heat it up again so that's nice and hot when it's going in there. Grab the bolt, twist it on in there. And what I like to do, if I know what broadhead I'm shooting, like this broadhead, what I'll do is I'll line it up with the fletchings to get this whole thing in frame. So this broadhead is on, and now I want to line it up with the fletching like that. And now I let it cool down, and when this glue cools off, you can just peel it off and you're pretty much done. I want to show you guys real quick. So that glue's dry, all you got to do now is just peel it off just like that. You can cut it off and you can see it's nice and clean. Let's weigh this one more time just to be sure. Let's clear this sucker. About 355, 375. .220, 335, 13-inch bolt, 252. So let's get the calculations out for that and get the kinetic energy. All right, I got the calculations done. So with that 16-inch bolt at 375 and 220 feet per second, you're producing 40 pounds of kinetic energy. With that 335 grain bolt, you're producing 46 pounds kinetic energy. 46 pounds. So if that's your hunting bolt, you are getting plenty of energy for white-tailed deer using this tiny pistol crossbow. So for anyone that had any concerns or doubts about this capability, those are the speeds right there, and that is everything you needed to know about the Ballista Sting Bolt. If you have any more questions, comment them down below. I'll gladly answer them.